The championship four is set. That means 4 drivers were eliminated at Martinsville and will not run for a title in 2023. We'll talk about it next on NASCAR America Motormouths. Hi, everyone. Marty Snider, Jeff Burton, Steve Letarte joining you here for NASCAR America Motormouths. Steve, 4 drivers eliminated at Martinsville, including the regular season champion, Martin Truex Jr. I asked you on the air, what happened in the playoffs to the regular season champ when they looked like they were almost able to win every weekend going into the playoffs?
This has been the slowest elimination in the history of the playoffs because it took 9 weeks to eliminate a driver who was not around in week 1. I can't imagine the shift from race 26 to 27. This is a driver and a team that had huge disappointment a year ago not making the playoffs. They right the ship and come back to be the regular season championship. I don't think anyone understands the emotional roller coaster and the amount of challenge that is for a team. They pulled it off, and I thought that was the momentum. And I will tell you, Truex at the start of the playoffs walked the walk and talked the talk and had the speed, and I thought this was the 19 that was going on to Phoenix to win a championship. But everything around them fell apart. If it's not one thing, and that's what makes this conversation so difficult. What did they do right? They had fast cars. Period. Awkward pause. Because the list of things that went wrong is so long. Pit crew, pit stops, speeding, track position, driver made mistakes. They handed it completely around. And it might have been speeding at Martinsville that everybody will circle, but it's one of many, many, many errors that must get cleaned up. It's going to be a long offseason of soul searching for this 19 team to see what they want next year to look like.
Jeff, what about the story for his teammate Denny Hamlin? A lot of people, even a month ago, thought Hamlin, you go back to the Bristol win, you're like, oh, he's going to win the championship. Does it simply go down to, they had the speed, but does it simply go back to the mechanical failure at Miami as to what really took him out in this round?
Yeah, it does. Obviously you could have won. You could have gotten yourself in and by winning a race. They did not have, in my eyes, he didn't have a car good enough to win yesterday. They had a very good car, but not as good as Blaney. They did not have, in my eyes, a winning car before they had the trouble at Miami, Homestead Miami. The mechanical issue, quite simply, did put them out. And that is maybe something they had nothing to do with. It could have been something that, that team didn't actually, make a decision about. And that's hard to take. Clearly, there's an opportunity by winning a race to get yourself in. They ran well enough. It wasn't about speed. It just wasn't. They just did not. They just had some bad breaks. And I think that's just where it boils down to. I hate saying that because, you have to control things. You have to make things happen. If you don't, no one will. But there is luck involved in racing. And I honestly feel like clearly a mistake was made by somebody or just some dumb luck with a piece of rubber flying up and knocking the belt off or something. Who knows what happened? But in their case, I think they can honestly look at themselves and say they brought good fight to the playoffs. They did most of everything they needed to do right to get themselves to Phoenix. It just didn't work out.
Steve, what's the perspective on things for the 45 team and Tyler Reddick? It seems like a team, they're a very young team, first of all, but it seems like a team that just couldn't quite take that next step to be able to get up there and contend, for wins on a weekly basis and to be in the championship four.
I'd be having a celebratory lunch this week if I was the 45 and 23-11, because I think that's what this year needs to be, is celebrated. The transition from Chevrolet to Toyota, from Richard Childress to 23-11 could have been bumpy. Remember, he didn't bring his crew chief with him. He had to kind of meld in with a new team, a new group, a new crew chief. And yet, not only did Tyler Reddick, but all of 23-11 continue to improve. They got both cars in the playoffs. Bubba Wallace, while he didn't win this season or hasn't yet, he went farther into the playoffs than ever, and Tyler Reddick making all the way to the round of 8. I would change the whole storyline right around. I would have a big group luncheon when we loaded the Phoenix cars and tell the entire shop how proud I am of what we accomplished. And this is just the beginning. This isn't disappointment. This isn't even a detour. This is part of the path that we already knew we were climbing. And this is just one step. Can't wait for next year.
Jeff, do you take the same perspective with Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing? Chris Buescher seemed pretty disappointed after the race to not make the championship four after 3 wins so far this year. But man, I don't think anybody thought they would make it this far.
Well, that's right. And look, if you're Chris Buescher, you should be disappointed, right? You had a chance to go win a championship, contend for a championship, and it didn't work out. And they didn't bring their best the last few weeks. They just weren't as good as they had been earlier in the year, for whatever reason, and that happens with race teams. But yes, I do think that RFK in a whole can say, hey, we made major strides this year. This was a very positive year. It was a step along the way. Look, Hendrick Motorsports, their journey is to win a championship. RFK's journey is to get back to be a contender. And to get back to being a contender, you're going to have to put yourself in position. You're going to lose some. You're building that program. Hendrick's program is built. RFK is being built. The same as 2311. It's being built. So this can be looked at as a step in the process. And I would do the same thing that Steve said for 2311. I would have a team party. I would say, great job, everybody. That's not good enough next year, but it was good enough for this year.
Thanks for watching NASCAR America Motormouths presented by Toyota.